Alright, what's going on YouTube? It's Mega here. I'm going to go ahead and give you your pregame for this week on what's going on in week 5. Some of the big games, some of the games I'm going to hit, some of the games I won't. I'm going to try to veer away from doing just straight up SEC because I really don't want to hear about, Buffalo playing Arkansas. That's not really a game I need to announce. Arkansas and Texas A&M, I don't feel like that's a game I need to announce. Of course, I'm not going to skip out on Alabama games, even if they're playing the Mary School of the Deaf and Blind. Sorry, I'm just not. This is pretty much a Roll Tide channel. But, just going off of that, we'll go ahead and roll into it. The first thing that I want to talk about tonight is, can somebody please tell me how Boise State is ranked number 24? I mean, okay, you fall out of the rankings, you lose to Michigan State, which is pretty much the only team that you're going to play throughout the rest of the remaining of the season. Then you go in, you beat Miami, Ohio, which is definitely not anybody, really. And then, okay, so you get a win over BYU, which was 7-6 win, which wasn't even an impressive win. And BYU is pretty much nobody this year. But you jump back in the rankings at number 24. You fell out when you lost to Michigan State, which you should have. Then you jump back in when you beat Miami, Ohio, and then you get to maintain that because you beat BYU. I don't know. That's a failure. So, the other big game that I feel like that we have is Stanford and Washington. Washington's not a bad team. What I'm looking for in this game is I'm looking to see if Stanford can maintain that hype. They just took down USC, and in past they have been able to maintain it, but we'll see what they can do. Washington's always good for an upset every year. Now, I'm not putting them on the struggle alert whatsoever, but I do think it'll be a game worth watching. And to tell you the truth, most of this video right here, as far as your pregame stuff, or, the games coming up this week, it's going to be on what I think my struggle alert is. Now remember, just to explain it to you guys again, my struggle alert is not something that is, that I'm going to say, hey, this team's definitely going to win, or this team's definitely going to lose. This team's definitely going to get upset. Struggle alert means you're going to see a quality team struggle against a team that they probably shouldn't. And there's a few of them on here that I would like to go ahead and call an upset on. And which is me kind of stretching out a little bit, because normally I don't like to call upsets. But the first one I'll go over with is I got Michigan State over Ohio State. Now, that's not really a hard upset to call, but just looking at that game, I've watched Ohio State play, and they've beat up on some pretty sissy schools, and I'm just not impressed. And Michigan State's normally a solid team that can control the clock, and I like the coach. Although Ohio State, they didn't got a bad coach either. He used to be in the SEC. He used to be a real coach, but not really. So, moving on, here's going to be another one. I'm going to go ahead and put the Georgia game on alert. Sorry, Georgia fans. Tennessee. Here's my reasoning behind this before all the Georgia fans get mad. First off, you haven't been tested yet, Georgia. You haven't. We haven't seen what you can do. We've seen Tennessee. They can move the ball around pretty good. Their defense is lacking a lot. They can move the ball around pretty good. They need some help up front. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm putting on a struggle alert. I don't think that Tennessee has the depth yet to hang on and play with the Georgia team. But I think the first quarter, maybe second quarter, getting into the third, you could see some struggles there. So I'm going to go ahead and put them on the alert. Then moving on this one, I know a lot of people are going to tell me I'm crazy. And, I'm kind of iffy. I want to take this one off, really. But I'm going to go ahead, since I wrote it down, I'll put it up. South Florida and Florida State. Here's the thing about Florida State. Florida State doesn't have anybody on their schedule that can beat them or has a chance of beating them other than Florida, and that's at the end of the season. I'm going to go ahead and lay that out there. But South Florida normally puts together a good program, and normally they have a good team. This year is their rebuild year. I mean, that's definitely obvious. But Florida State really hasn't, they just haven't played anybody. I mean, Did you look at the way that Clemson played last week? Clemson doesn't have it. They need to fire their offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator and maybe the head coach. I think they did that last year, so maybe the head coach needs to go this year. But I'm just going to go ahead and throw that game out there as, hey, don't be afraid to flip back. I'm also going to go with Clemson's going to get upset by Boston College. And I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me on that one either, but I'm looking at it this way. Boston College is an average team. They're just an average squad that if things are going good and they're executing well, they can play good ball and they can run with a lot of teams in the country. And Clemson's coming off a heartbreaking loss. They do what they do every freaking year. They get ranked high in the rankings and blow it. Or they do good halfway through the season like they did last year and blow it, especially on some chump team like North Carolina or something like that. Not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying. So, and then my last and final big upset that I'm going to call, and this is an upset that I'm going to say, I'm going to stand to, and I'm going to call it. I'm calling, and I don't think anybody in college football is saying this. Baylor over West Virginia. Yeah. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people are not even looking at that game as going to be a struggle. One reason, because RG3 is not there. Let me tell you something about RG3. If you watch the games last year, now he's a very talented individual. I don't want to take anything away from him. He's definitely a Heisman winner. He's a top quality, All-American type quarterback. But I will say this, he had some damn good receivers last year. And if you pay attention to those receivers this year, it's clearly evident because the quarterback that they have this year is not as good. He's not throwing the ball as good, but the receivers are making some incredible catches. So in saying that, if they can hang around, play some defense, slow this West Virginia team down a little bit, Baylor be okay, and I think that they'll come out with a win on this one. I do. West Virginia hasn't played anybody. Baylor has. So we'll see. A lot of teams are going to get tested this week. I know there's a lot more games out there, but the main ones have been covered. I think that those are the ones that be watching, and I think that this week we're going to see at least 2 upsets, especially out of what I just laid out. I think we're going to see at least 2. It's college football. I can't wait.